In the late 20s, at the same time they were ordering the Vickers-class destroyers from France, Poland ordered 3 submarines, also from France. Again, also because the country they wanted to order them from, England, wouldn't give them a line of credit, while French politicians saw this as an opportunity to line their pocket with some commissions. Again, they would be heavily based on the previous French design. Again, their main goal was mine laying. As in the Vickers class destroyers, this was seen as the small Polish navy's only real hope of slowing a German or Soviet amphibious invasion. Weirdly, they used a trainable external torpedo mount fitted between the inner and outer hulls. Again, it wasn't a very good design. Such is the case when the design's main goal is money laundering rather than war fighting, but they simply had no choice. The torpedo tubes were the non-standard French 550 millimeter, meaning once reloads fell behind enemy lines, they were stuck. They were noisy. Their engines were troublesome. The mine laying was done via a chute system that was overly complex and thus high maintenance. The torpedo tubes were troublesome. They weren't very seaworthy. Also, while double hulled, they were all riveted and would weep fuel oil, which could give away their position and contaminate their fuel tanks. Their diving depth was okay-ish. They could only barely dive deeper than they were long. They apparently had no sonar, so everything had to be done through the periscope. They also had no angle solving computers, so break out that protractor, and so on. In submarine, yeah, the brochure looked good, just don't take it on a test drive. Like it or not, these were the 3 subs of the 980-ton surfaced and 1,248 submerged ton Wilk class. Wilk was started in May of 1927 and completed in August 1931. Rice was started in May of 1927 and was completed in October 1931. Zebik was started in May 1927 and was completed in February 1932. Main armament was 6 550 millimeter torpedo tubes, 4 in the bow with 1 reload each, and 2 in a trainable external mount between the inner and outer hulls aft of the sail. 38 mines could be carried in vertical chutes midship between the inner and outer hull, half on each side. A single 100 millimeter 40 caliber deck gun was fitted forward of the sail. While on the surface, 2 French diesel engines produced 1,800 horsepower for a speed up to 14 knots and to recharge the batteries. While submerged, the batteries generated 1,200 horsepower to drive the 2 electric motors that ran the 2 propellers for a speed of 9 knots. Maximum diving depth was 80 meters. All 3 were still in Poland on September 1st. Upon the start of the war, they set about doing what they were planned to do: lay mines and attack German ships. By the middle of the month, however, the course of the war was clear, and they headed for England. Rice and Zebik only made it as far as Sweden, where they were interred for the rest of the war. Wilk, however, made it to England, arriving on September 20th. For the rest of the year and through 1940 until late January 1941, she undertook patrols in the North Sea. With spare parts not available due to being non-standard with the Royal Navy and worn out, in late January 1941 she was reduced to a training ship. At the start of April 1942, totally worn out, she was laid up in reserve. Post-war, all 3 were returned to the Soviet-controlled Poland, but were so worn out even the Soviets couldn't do anything with them, and they were scrapped.